6th instalment of ASMR drawing, and we're back with this blue felt pen drawing of a city. One that I left unfinished about a week and a half ago, and I've been chomping at the bit ever since to finish it off and make another video. But alas, I've been busy, as in the UK we've had a bank holiday this week, and I've essentially had a week off work, which meant I built a shed in my back garden. So that's been occupying my time basically all day every day, and rinsing my bank account as well. So it's probably why my hands are a lot more tanned, and there's quite a few little cuts on them, and they're looking a bit more unappealing than perhaps usual. But that's not what this is about. The drawing is what this is about. I will try and not talk about my shed for the entire video. It's not finished yet, but it's incredibly big, which kind of means that getting all the materials for it is expensive and time consuming, and a toil on my little old hands too. I'm kind of building it as I've got a drum kit that I currently have nowhere to play. So I'm building a shed almost solely so I can put a drum kit in it and play my drums. Move the windows, make them a bit less uniform, as I haven't had a place to play the drums for well over a decade now. And as much as I think it'll annoy my neighbours, I'm sure they can survive. I won't play it at too unsociable times, just during the day, you know. If you've watched my previous videos, you've probably heard me mention the dogs next door, who bark a lot, so everyone's probably more than used to that and can happily put up with a drum kit. Speaking of having one drum kit, that's a little bit of a lie. I've almost got 3 drum kits, and that's solely because I was in the I was at the tip. We call it the tip, but perhaps you'd call it, depending where you're from, it'd be the rubbish dump. Basically the place where you take all your rubbish from your house. And I was getting rid of some garden waste. And next to the garden waste bin, I say bin, it's a huge container like what you'd get on the back of a lorry, a truck, is the next to the food, not food, next to the garden waste container, huge lorry end back container truck situation, is the metal one. And I always have a little look in the metal one. I've got a terrible habit of coming back from the dip with more than I took. And today was not today. The day I'm describing was no exception. I looked in, and lo and behold, there was a drum kit. Quite a good drum kit too, bearing in mind that this was last Friday, on the day that I was planning to start my shed building era. spoke to one of the chaps at the tip, because I knew he had a big hook, and I said, look, I really want this drum kit, can we hook it out? And he said, I'm not actually meant to give away things, but we can. So with the combined effort of his hook and me using just a long stick, we got most of it out. I didn't need all of it. The kind of idea was that I'd replace the bits of my own drum kit that are broken, because it's a little bit of a kind of Frankenstein kit that I cobbled together when I was a teenager, and it's falling to bits. And the guy working at the tip said, if you want to come and look in the... Oh, that line was terrible. If you want to come and look at the... in the shed down there where they kind of... I guess they put the good stuff that people leave. There's more of the kit in there that you can have. I said, absolutely, of course. Let's go. So I go down, and there's, if you're familiar with drum kits, there's the bass drum. Itch my face there, sorry. There's the bass drum. And the two toms that go on top of the bass drum again, if you're familiar with the drum kit. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the big ones. And I said, yes, I'll take those, primarily because they were a very good set of toms, and the bass drum, I'd probably think the bass drum's worth a reasonable amount of money. It was certainly in good nick. So I took them, and as I put them in the back of the car, another chap came up to me and said, oh, do you play the drums? I said, yes. And he said, look, I've got a full drum kit in my shed. You can have it for 20 quid. And I said, that sounds good to me. And he said, come and have a look later on and see what you think. So I got the guy's number, and essentially straight after leaving the tip I went round and saw the drum kit, and it was legit. He wasn't trying to murder me. He had a really nice house, a great garden, and he'd got the drum kit out ready. And I'd guesstimate it's a pretty good drum kit. It's more, he said it was his son's, and it strikes me that it's like a good drum kit for a teenager. You know, you've progressed from the baby kit, and you're now onto like it's a good drum kit that you'd buy a 14-year-old, I think. And it was in really good condition, so I said, here's your 20 quid, let's load it in the back of the car. And we did. And as of nearly a week ago, I now have almost 3 drum kits, more than enough to supplement my original kit and kind of bring it up to par. And my other thinking was, it will spur me on to get the shed to completion, as currently the kits are spread over the back of the boot and at my in-laws' house in their garage, which I do also feel bad about, but I've been assured it's totally fine. Drumming is one aspect of my kind of life that I really can't introduce to the ASMR community, I don't think. If I could find a way, that would be great, but I am struggling to think how ASMR drums could be feasible. One thing that I never thought feasible, that I've seen in quite a lot of ASMR videos, in haircut roleplays, is trimmer clippers. I've no idea how, but people are really good at making clippers ASMR suitable. I'm in awe. And it's good, it works. It's very relaxing. Maybe one day somebody will be saying that about me in a drum kit. I'm gonna put a crane up here. I haven't drawn a crane for a long time. I used to love drawing cranes. I can't really remember what they look like. I used to almost study them to get it right, you know. I think I might be going off camera as well. Never mind. You'll have to imagine. Okay, I'm fairly pleased with this. A few wires there. Wires always make things look a bit more busy. Sorry, I was just looking at my hands. I've definitely got a little bit of a tan going. I don't know if you can pick it up on the screen. It's an incredibly nice day where I am, and I hope it is where you are too. Big hook. Big hook on the end. Next to the ribbon being pulled by the airplane. I think I've kind of got to make this have an end point. I can't just leave it dangling, you know. As in leave the drawing dangling. Someone told me a very good point once, that if you're finished drawing, if you're done with a drawing when it's unfinished, so you know you start something and then you stop and you just leave it like that, it really brings attention to the medium that you're using, which is true. It definitely does. It's very clear. You're no longer in the illusion that I'm drawing a big, I guess, medieval city. You're now painfully aware that this is a blue felt pen. I hope that makes sense. You know, you've lost the illusion, and it's true. And I definitely have a problem with leaving things unfinished. I can't quite bring myself to. Or if I leave it, I have to kind of finish it on the spot. I can't leave something if I leave something unfinished, there's a chance I'll never come back to it. That's why it was quite painful having to leave this, although I was happy with how it was looking when I left it. But I definitely wanted to finish it. I'm just going to colour this bit, and it'll highlight the observatory bit, which I'm actually quite happy with, really. Right, I think I'm gonna accentuate the wall a little bit. Oh, I know, I think we'll have a moat. So it's really like a medieval castle. One thing I thought earlier as well was that, sorry, that was a bit squeaky, wasn't it? As, you know, clearly this isn't my full-time job yet. So there's often a few days elapsed between videos, and I forget what I've spoken about. So there's a high chance I'll be repeating myself a lot. And if you pick up on that, then I'm very sorry. With these village here next to the moat. In case you're wondering how I'm still talking about or giving this a kind of flavour of medieval, I'm still reading Game of Thrones. I'm on there. I think I'm on Dance with Dragons. Anyway, it's if anyone's read them, it's the one where, and I'm not going to do my absolute best not to give anything away. It's the one where, well, it's the first one at least, where there's a lot of chapters of people who haven't been in it yet and are given kind of descriptive names. So, for example, I've just gone past the Queen Maker chapter, there's the Drowned Prophet chapter, there's, so it's not names of characters, chapters, and it suggests to me that they're new people who are really only going to be in this book and not have any sort of longevity in the story, as a lot of the characters who have been staples of the story aren't featuring too much in this one. It's still good. It's probably my least favourite so far, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. I'm still enjoying it and I'm still glued to it. A few ripples in the water. It made me think as well, because they did mention a moat in the story what I was reading earlier today. Except I think instead of water it was filled with spikes. A little more gory. On the cover of this book as well, someone's paid it a very high compliment and said that George R.R. Martin, the author of Game of Thrones, is like the American Tolkien. And my initial thought was, well, that's a fairly lofty compliment to pay. But then thinking about it, there's no reason why he's not. He's kind of created this epic. And just because, it can be a little bit silly, a little bit funny, which I think only adds to the enjoyment of it, doesn't make it any less relevant or able to be held in such high esteem. If anything, maybe it helps it, brings it more up to date. I guess he hasn't created a language like Tolkien did, but that's a fairly tall order. My mum and dad have a incredibly nice copy of Lord of the Rings, and I've stolen it, and it's now in my house. I don't think they mind. They also had, and I actually think this was mine, a biography of J.R. Tolkien. So maybe I'll read that first before reading Lord of the Rings. I've never read Lord of the Rings. I've seen them a long time ago, to the point where I can't really remember what happens, apart from I remember crying at the end of the last one when I was probably 13 watching it. Return of the King, I think. Fellowship of the Ring, Twin Towers, Return of the King, that's it, isn't it? Just thinking about J.R. Tolkien as well, I can't remember the word for it, but he was a person who invents languages. Again, damned if I can remember the word, but I think that was his primary passion other than literature. Coming up with flipping Elfin? Did he create? Not sure. Absolute tech is there for that. I can't even begin to think how difficult that would be. perspective in order. As in, you know, have some tiny ones at the back and the big ones at the front. Down here's just got to be coloured in. Being a bit lazy here, sorry. I do remember talking in the last video about a video I'd watched talking about American buildings that are completely covered with glass that represent corporate America and all of that. I don't think I've really drawn any on here. Oh, maybe some of these. I'm not sure. A few more wires. Maybe a little radio tower at the top. Can't hurt. There we go. Some kind of maybe like I'm imagining this like a tech tower. Also mainly thinking of in the Spider-Man franchise when like Dr. Octavius has just a huge tower devoted to his evil scheming, whatever you want to call it. Right in smack bang in the middle of New York, and I've always been quite impressed how the games kind of work these in. You know, they do almost incredible likeness of New York and then just plonk in the middle of it a 300-story building. I don't know what they replace when they do that. Maybe it's on a little park or something. So, you know, no buildings get left behind, as it were. That would be interesting actually. I'd watch a YouTube video about that for sure. Where do the Spider-Man buildings go when they get replaced with thingy corp or whatever they called it? I don't think I played the most recent one, or the Miles Morgales one, is that what it's called, with that Miles character. I played the one before with him in it though, where you play as him for like 5 minutes and that's it. Here we go, we're off Beast now. That game was great, I really got into that. In fact, I completed it 100%, which I'm very proud of. And swapped the game in CEX for something else, because there was literally nothing else to be done. Great fun. A good kind of semi-RPG. I can't really call it an RPG, but you know, you get the picture. I've probably talked about this too, but I currently can't stop playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Probably my favourite game of all time, and I don't even know why. Technically, I don't even think it's that good. I'm just obsessed with it. There's something incredibly satisfying about going around and ticking all the kind of areas off. Also, living in and coming from the UK, it's very satisfying to have a game that is based in the UK, even if it's times of old, hundreds of years ago. If you can hear some hoovering going on right now, I do apologise. There's some hoovering going on downstairs. That's fine though, it always kind of makes me chuckle in ASMR videos when like a fighter jet goes past or a police car goes past or something. Oh, I don't know what's going on here, by the way, I'm sorry. You know, something completely unplanned and loud happens. Well, hopefully my microphone isn't good enough to have picked it up. That's half the fun. No one can truly get away from all the noise. Really. I've noticed. I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure I've seen some things where people do it in the middle of the night to avoid all the noise. Which makes sense, I suppose. Also, people hiring out hotel rooms to go and do it in the middle of the night. That sentence sounded wrong. To go and record ASMR in the middle of the night. You know, there's many uses for hotel rooms though, so no judgment from me. I've certainly seen people whose videos definitely look like a hotel room, unless they've got incredibly boring living rooms. There's some more hoovering. I'll let you listen to the hoovering if you can hear it. If you can't, then good. But yeah, I've definitely saw a few updates from an ASMR artist ages ago saying, like, oh, you know, it's hard, there hasn't been a video because there hasn't been time to go in the hotel room, go and book a hotel room. I don't know, I'm definitely not established enough to be doing that yet, but maybe one day. Middle of the day, or end of the day after work, for me, is totally fine. Oh, there really is some bashing and banging going on downstairs, what's that? I don't know what that is, if you can hear that. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't mind though. I'm gonna have some kind of... I guess this building's influenced by the Shard, maybe. I did used to live in London and do separate bedrooms. I had during my tenure there. I could see the Shard out my window, which I was very pleased about. That's not to say I was incredibly well off and lived right near the Shard, that's not true. I lived quite far away, just at the top of a tower block. Which is very lucky in itself, but would hate to give the impression that I was living, you know, at number 1 Shard Street or anything like that. I've been up the Shard twice. The first time, a number of us put on suits and decided to have a kind of posh evening. Went up the Shard, had one beer, cost me £7, and then left. We only really got let in because we were in suits. They wouldn't have let us in otherwise. And they told us so. The second time was also wearing a suit. But I'm quite scared of enclosed spaces. And I was in the lift and I essentially had a bit of a freak out. Well, I won't dull it down, I would start to have a panic attack. So I just had to get out of there. Which is fine, you know. As in, it's not fine, it wasn't fine at the time, but I've come to terms with that a lot more now. Not that I avoid situations, but generally I don't get in lifts. I quite like taking the stairs anyway. I don't think this building's nearly as high as the Shard. It's kind of as jaggedy as the Shard. The Shard. I was drawing the Shard the other day for a commission I was doing, and it really is quite jagged. You know, there are some. It's not just a straight up. It's got a bit more to it than that. If you kind of look closely at it. I've realised I'm kind of drawing at hyperspeed. I think that just means I'm quite into this drawing now. I feel like it's really filled out quite nicely. You know, even just for a quick, almost go, there's some kind of tennis court at the top. Yeah, big tree. Big tree and a few leaves on it. I hope this part 2 has been everything anybody hoped it would be. I did think I talked a bit about maybe getting some inks or watercolours on it, but I think it's okay just as the blue. I think it would be a little bit of overkill to be adding colours now. Tried to keep the intensity up, as do not need things like that. Hey, maybe I'll do a part 3. Maybe I'll even finish it, try and finish it even more. Probably do another video in the meantime about something else though. Bring out a part 3 at a later date. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I really want to fill the page. I feel like I'm really going for it now. I'd like to really kind of finish this properly, like what I was saying earlier about I struggle to just leave things half done. I think this might be one of those times, albeit in a different video, but windows. Small little windows. So maybe just a beam, maybe this is a barn. I feel barns tend to have a little bit of this going on. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. So maybe some wood panelling, like my shed. If anyone else has born a shed, birthed a shed, built a shed, I'll happily discuss shed building with someone and how horrendously expensive it is now, I guess, after the pandemic. It's shockingly expensive, but I'm hoping, hopefully I think I'll get my fun out of it. I easily could have gone on probably a couple of holidays for what I envision I'll spend towards the end of completion. Quite happily had a few nice holidays, but I think the enjoyment I'll get out of this shed will equal a holiday, maybe even surpass the enjoyment of a holiday. Who knows? I'll let you know once I've built it. Might even start drawing in there. Although I did think there's a part of me doesn't want to entrust all my paper and things in an area that will potentially get quite damp. Like, I'm fairly confident with how I've built it, but I'm not that confident. Not confident enough to essentially put my most prized possessions in there, i.e. most of my artwork. Quite like these windows. I definitely think up close this style is a lot kind of scrappier than what I usually do. But it's good, I'm quite enjoying letting go and just going for it really. Something we should all learn to do sometimes. trees and bushes out here.